Arsenal have finally booked their place in the FA Cup fourth round for the first time since 2023, ending a 3-year wait to move beyond the third round in a competition we have dominated more than any other club. This time it was a convincing 4-1 win over Portsmouth, and in this video I'm breaking down the game in detail, highlighting the key moments, explaining why the scoreline could have been even more emphatic, and focusing on the many positives that could make this match a real turning point for Arsenal. Yes, it is important to acknowledge that Portsmouth are struggling this season and are clearly a level below Arsenal, but every game offers lessons, and there were signs here that really matter, especially the return of Kai Havertz to the pitch, which is a massive boost for the squad. There are plenty of positives to unpack, so feel free to drop your thoughts and questions in the comments as we go along, and let's get into the match itself. The game began in awful conditions, with heavy rain, strong winds, and generally miserable weather that made things difficult for everyone involved, and early on it could not have started much worse. A loose ball dropped perfectly for a Portsmouth attacker, and just 3 minutes in they took a shock 1-0 lead, which felt like a nightmare scenario after the disappointment against Liverpool. Going out early in the FA Cup might not have been disastrous considering Arsenal are competing on multiple fronts, but it is still a trophy we want to win, and at this stage the club has to aim for success in every competition. Conceding so early was far from ideal, but Arsenal responded quickly and decisively, with the equalizer coming from a chaotic corner situation that was eventually credited as an own goal. The corner delivery caused real panic in the box, with plenty of grappling and bodies everywhere, and Martinelli did brilliantly to get low and flick the ball into a crowded area where it eventually crossed the line. It was exactly what Arsenal needed to regain control, refocus, and push on, once again underlining the team's strength from set pieces, especially against a Portsmouth side that struggles defensively in those situations. From there, the spotlight really fell on Gabriel Martinelli, whose performance was outstanding and who looked like a player determined to fight for his place. This was his 8th goal of the season, with 4 in the Champions League and now 3 in this game alone, and goals like these are crucial for confidence, rhythm, and instinct. His first goal came from another corner, this time delivered brilliantly by Noni Madueke, who deserves huge credit for his set-piece quality. While he was not known as a specialist corner taker when he arrived, Arsenal's coaching has clearly improved his deliveries, and his consistency from dead balls is becoming a real weapon. Martinelli attacked the front post aggressively, something we saw a lot from him earlier in his Arsenal career, and he guided a clever header into the net to make it 2-1. His movement in the box was excellent, constantly varying his runs, and this is exactly why his profile could even suit a central role at times. The second goal followed a very similar pattern, with Madueke again delivering into a dangerous area and Martinelli once more finding space at the front post, completely unchallenged, to head home with ease. Arsenal had numbers around the box ready to pounce on any loose ball, and although there were questionable challenges ignored in the area, the focus remained on the quality and intent of the attacking play. Martinelli's third goal was the real highlight, as it came from open play and showcased intelligent movement and excellent delivery. The move was sparked by Gabriel Jesus, whose vision and timing were key, and while some might criticize other forwards for not being in the right position, this goal was all about the quality of the pass and the perfectly timed run. Martinelli accelerated at just the right moment to attack the back post, and Jesus, given time and space, produced a superb cross that Martinelli finished calmly. The difference here was the freedom and time allowed, something Arsenal rarely get in the Premier League, and it showed how dangerous these patterns can be when executed properly. Jesus may not have had a shot himself, but his influence and creativity were clear, while Martinelli's overall performance underlined his intelligence, tempo, and ability to bring others into the game. There were still moments where he could have been more clinical, including chances where he had time to take an extra touch but instead rushed the finish, hitting the post on one occasion, yet it is hard to be overly critical of a player who walked away with a hat-trick. Elsewhere, Ben White was excellent down the right, offering sharp overlaps and quality delivery, highlighting the healthy competition Arsenal have with players like Juri and Timber, whose consistency and all-round game also bring huge value. Noni Madueke continued to impress with his directness and confidence, especially when isolated one-on-one, eventually winning a penalty after beating his man with ease. With no obvious regular penalty taker on the pitch, it made sense for Madueke to step up, but the execution was poor, and it was a chance missed to kill the game before halftime. Still, one of the biggest positives came with the introduction of Kai Havertz, who looked instantly comfortable and sharp. His intelligence, movement, and composure stood out straight away, whether it was holding the ball, picking the right pass, or creating space for teammates. His awareness and timing added a different dimension to Arsenal's play, and even when moves did not end in goals, his influence was clear. Overall, this was a dominant performance filled with encouraging signs, from set-piece excellence to individual confidence boosts and returning players finding rhythm, and while the opposition must be considered, the quality, patterns, and intent shown here could be hugely important as Arsenal push forward in the FA Cup and beyond. Arsenal Therapy Podcast, and Arsenal have finally secured their place in the FA Cup fourth round for the first time since 2023. Bringing an end to a frustrating 3-year spell of falling at the third-round hurdle in a competition the club has won more than any other team in history. This time the Gunners delivered a commanding 4-1 victory over Portsmouth, and in this breakdown we are diving deep into the match, revisiting the key moments, analyzing why the scoreline could easily have been far more convincing, and highlighting the many positives that suggest this performance could represent a genuine turning point for Arsenal's season. Of course, it is only fair to point out that Portsmouth are having a difficult campaign and are clearly not on the same level as Arsenal, but football matches are about more than just the opposition. Every game offers clues, patterns, and momentum, and there were several encouraging signs here, not least the return of Kai Havertz to the pitch, which is a massive boost for the squad both tactically and mentally. There were plenty of talking points throughout the match, so viewers are encouraged to get involved, drop their thoughts in the comments, and share questions as we go through the action. The match itself started in dreadful conditions, with relentless rain and strong winds making life uncomfortable for both sets of players, and Arsenal could not have imagined a worse opening. A loose ball fell kindly for Portsmouth, and just 3 minutes into the game they found themselves 1-0 up, sending a wave of anxiety through the away end. Coming so soon after the disappointment against Liverpool, it felt like a nightmare scenario, and although an early FA Cup exit might not have been disastrous given Arsenal are competing on multiple fronts, this is still a trophy the club takes seriously and one they believe they can win. Falling behind so early was far from ideal, but the response from Arsenal was immediate and assertive. The equalizer came from a set-piece scramble that eventually went down as an own goal, but the danger was created by Arsenal's relentless pressure and intelligent movement in the box. The corner delivery caused chaos, bodies were everywhere, and Martinelli's low flick into a crowded area forced the ball over the line, restoring parity and calming nerves. It once again highlighted Arsenal's growing reputation as a serious threat from set pieces, especially against a Portsmouth side that has struggled all season to defend dead ball situations. From that moment on, the game began to tilt firmly in Arsenal's favor, and the standout performer was undoubtedly Gabriel Martinelli, who delivered one of his most complete displays of the season. This hat-trick took his tally to 8 goals across all competitions, with 4 coming in the Champions League and now 3 in this